Hello everybody. Today I'm bringing you this layout, and it was for a National Scrapbook Day challenge on the Mercy Tiara Facebook group. It was called Twist and Sketch. So you were to take a sketch and give it a little bit of a twist. I'm going to scrapbook these photos of a couple of friends of mine working on a polar fleece blanket at a scrapbook weekend that I go to. So I am going to be using the Pink Paisley Fancy Free collection, which is much sought after and hard to get since it's now been discontinued. And that's where all of these papers are from. They're from the 12 by 12 paper pad for Fancy Free. I decided I really wanted some sort of bar going across the middle of these. And I love that background paper because it looked like a quilt. So in order to echo the sketch, I'm going to use this doily so that I have a large circular element in the layout, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm playing here with sort of the design of how those photographs are going to sit, and I decided I want the tag for the journaling to go in the middle. So then what I decided, I did decide that they still needed to be mounted on something because the background is so busy. So I took this piece of yellow striped paper and I'm going to mount the photos on those. And then the blue will act as the bar, or the horizontal bar of paper going across the way that it is in the design. Now I love washi tape. I collect it, but I don't use it all that often. So I'm going to use some washi tape on this page from the sketch. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm taking out my ink pads. I was going to use a gray ink there, but the tags in this collection are actually shiny, so you need to use StazOn or something that's permanent. A regular dye ink isn't going to work. Now I've gone back to that regular ink to ink up the papers, and the reason I'm doing that is the papers are so soft and beautiful and feminine, but they don't stand out against that busy background. So that's why I'm doing this in this case. I don't think I told you this, but that doily is an 8-inch doily from the Sunny Side Up Bakery, and that's the doily vendor for Hobby Lobby. So you can go into the cake decorating section and you'll find those. They're fairly cheap too. So I was really excited to find that. And that's where I get my doilies most of the time. Every so often I'll buy them on sale at Joann. So now I'm just trying to decide how much of that doily I want to reveal behind the photo block there. And I also am, trying to figure out if I put that washi tape down, how much of that is, how much of the doily on the bottom am I going to need to show. And I'm looking at doing clusters here as well at the same time, like how many clusters should I do, how big should I do. And I'm using the Pink Paisley Fancy Free ephemera pack there. It's where all of my die cuts are going to come from. As I said, I'm using basically just about everything on this is Pink Paisley, or at least the paper elements are. I bring in other manufacturers with the other pieces. So I did like that Today banner. And the story behind this layout is I go to this scrapbook retreat twice a year. And let me I'll interject here. That's how I store my thickers. I use those wicker baskets, and I store the majority of them. I took the cover off. I got them at Michael's. I took the cover off, and then I just store them standing up in that basket, and I use the pockets, the plastic pockets that you can buy like on Amazon for them. They're 6 by 12. So what I did there is I grabbed these thickers that I absolutely love. They are from their Dear Lizzie thickers, and the font is called Treasure. I love them, but they're really corally color and almost on the orange part of corally. So they're hard to use because that color isn't all that common in scrapbooking, but you do see it in this collection. So, and it's pretty prevalent on this particular page. So I decided when I saw those, oh, that would be the perfect font for this. And it's a really cool font because it's that coral color. They're chipboard, and then they have almost like a really fine see-through glitter on them. They're just beautiful. So I was very, like I said, I was very excited that I got to use them. So as I'm positioning this title over the top of that doily, the rest of the story is that somebody almost always makes this a polar fleece blanket, and these two friends of mine are sisters. I've been friends with that sister on the left for over 40 years and that's her much younger sister on the right, who I've gotten to know and become friends since we've started to do these retreats together. So it was the younger sister's turn to make that blanket, that polar fleece blanket, and her older sister was helping her out, which I just thought was really kind of sweet. Plus it tells the story of how somebody always makes these blankets and uses rotary cutters and cuts themselves. So that's part of the story as well. I just grabbed that Bella Boulevard diagonal stripe, yellow diagonal stripe washi tape and put that down. I love this washi tape. They have such great simple designs, or Bella Boulevard did. I don't know that they sell washi tape any longer, that it's part of their collections, but it was all the rage you know, a few years ago, and I bought a bunch of it at that point in time. So I'll have washi tape for the rest of my life. And now I'm just adjusting the doily there because I want my title to sit on that doily completely. It just gives a really beautiful, soft, feminine touch to this. And since that background paper looks like quilting, it was the perfect paper for this layout. So I have that down, or at least centered. And then what I'm going to do now is, those are chipboard thickers, and we all know they don't stick all that much. So I just grabbed my quick dry that I'm going to do that. And as I was doing that, I decided that there's a lot of space down below what's going to be that bottom cluster. So I grabbed this pink washi tape from Freckled Fawn, and I'm going to use that over the Bella Boulevard tape. And I just love the way that looks. It just adds something, a little bit, another element to that cluster up there. So back to what I'm doing now. We all know chipboard thickers don't stick, and these really don't stick. So I have these in, there's an aqua version of this as well, and the aqua is actually worse. They fall off all over the place, but these aren't quite as bad. But I'm using my Scotch Quick Dry so that they do stick. So I'll just quick glue those down. As I'm doing this, I'm thinking that I want at least one more cluster, and I'm going to do it around that Today banner, but trying to figure out what I'm going to use, because I didn't see any other elements in that die cut pack that I wanted to use. I have the die cut pack, and then the puffy stickers, and then the other sticker sheet from this collection. I'd love to get my hands on the chipboard, but I don't think that's going to happen because as of earlier in the week of when I'm doing this voiceover, the collection has been discontinued because of a controversy about one of the papers. And my understanding is that it says that it's inspired by the artist, but from what I understand, it's almost an exact copy of the art. So the collection has been discontinued. So what's out there is out there, which is really sad. It's such a beautiful collection, and you know, for the whole collection to have to go away, but I kind of get it. The art is on some of the tags, and it's on some of the other stickers, so I understand. So I am going to now try to figure out other pieces. I'm thinking about that acrylic. I have a hard time using acrylics. I have a hard time when you see through them. I thought about that family one for a while because these are two sisters doing this. But the dark element isn't working very well for me there because there's really not much dark. There's a little bit of dark in the photographs, but I think that helps you focus on the photographs. I didn't want to take away from that. So again, and trying to decide, I'm thinking, well, I need another cluster. There's only one cluster on here right now. But I am going to get over that in the end. I didn't like, I thought that the cluster up in the upper left there would actually take away from the focus on the photographs versus focusing you towards it. Because if the cluster is here, it's almost in the center of the layout, and it is like a little surprising element. So there is a sheet of paper in this collection that has all watercolor circles with words on it, and you can see it right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of those circles in this bottom cluster. So I went and grabbed my circle punch, and it's a Marva U Cheetah circle punch. I believe this one is 2 inches if I remember correctly. And I'm going to punch some of the circles on the side here because I won't be able to use a full circle anyway as layering elements. Now, they have words on them, but if you're strategic about how you put these down, you won't see the words. And that's what I'm doing here. I really like the way that cluster on the bottom right there is sort of an unexpected little pop, because the rest of the layout is completely centered except for that cluster. So it's something just a little bit different on the page. You know, otherwise I think it would be too predictable, and not that I don't do predictable layouts, you know, that happens. But I like it with this one because it is so very centered that it's something different and unexpected. That ink that I'm using, by the way, is Jenny Bolin fountain pen. She hasn't produced ink in quite a while, and so it's old, but the pad is still going strong. And I use my ink more for inking edges than I do stamping, honestly. I have stamps, but I rarely use them. So maybe that should be my goal someday, is to actually, you know, try to go through a month where I use my stamps all the time. I'm a lazy scrapper. I like pre-made embellishments. So, and you may have just heard Linus the cat. He's wanting a pet. So anyway, I like to use pre-made embellishments versus making my own embellishments. Still fooling around, thinking about that top cluster or that top left cluster there. And what I decided to do, this collection involves some silver, is I found that silver heart banner, and I really like it because it's a little bit of something, but you really have to look at the layout to see it. It doesn't take your attention away from the photographs or the centered design. So that heart in the background, if I had left it as it is, more than one color, the photograph would have shown through, and the matte. So I'm just going to take a little piece of that blue paper that I used for the horizontal element in the page, and I'm just going to back it with it, back that die cut with it. I like the see-through heart element, but it just didn't work very well on, you know, just to let it as it was. It needed that backing paper, and it brings that blue in another case, so that's kind of a nice thing too. And I'm fooling around with this a little bit. It's like a foil, banner's foil, so it was sliding on me a bit. And I decided that what I wanted to do after I was going to put it flat is there's dimension in the other cluster, so I decided to use my huge roll of the Scotch tape there to put that up on. And really with that, I'm just about done, but I decided I want to use some twine in that hole there in the tag. Hard to find words this morning. In the hole in the tag. So I just grab a pink because that brings the pink element back in again, which is kind of nice. And I'll use my scissors just to cut that off a little bit. And now I grabbed my slick writer. This one happens to be from scrapbook.com. It's a fine point, and I'm going to write on the tag because, again, this is a shiny surface, so you need to do that to write on those. So I'm just about finished with the layout. I hope this finds you all well. I videoed 8 layouts during National Scrapbook Day weekend, so a month worth of layouts, which is really exciting. So you'll see this, you know, in about a month or 6 weeks after National Scrapbook Day is done, but they're still good at that point. Hope this finds you all well, and I'll be back with another video soon. There is a still shot and some detail shots at the end. Bye!